1, 2, check. Okay, hopefully this mic is working. The last one did not. Well, hello, folks. Who's frustrated out there? Let me know if you can hear this. Give me a thumbs up in the chat if you can. Nice to see you guys. Oh, good Lord, there's a good group in here. I like it. Yeah, we are not going to waste a whole lot of time other than to say this team didn't show up tonight. I don't know why. I don't know what happened, but long story short, all over the place, just didn't show up to play. So what can you do? They're going to have to regroup. The injuries are paramount. It's really concerning, honestly, specifically along the offensive line. I'm not sure how they're going to field an offensive line next week. They made the decision to cut Jeff Allen this week and keep Ryan Hunter. I think that clearly backfired. Just that film alone, 20 snaps, I think shows you that you can't roll out next week with him as your starting left guard. I'm concerned about Wiley's long-term health. I'm concerned about Patrick Mahomes, to tell you the truth. And I tweeted that out earlier. If Lolip's in here, how are you, man? I didn't mean to bite your head off. But everybody took that tweet wrong. Yes, they need to run the ball in general because I think they just have to. But specifically, they got to do it so that Patrick Mahomes doesn't get hit every single snap. That is the thing that is going to ruin this season. The re-injury to a same ankle, spatting's one thing. Okay, that's fine. That doesn't fix the problem. And if he continues to get hit, continues to get rolled up on, this is going to go downhill really, really quickly. I think we've all seen what it is that happens in this offense when he can't scramble. So if nothing else, and Stevie, you're right, they don't have the line to run the ball, but they have to do it anyway. I don't care if it's 2 yards. You can't let him get hit down after down after down after down. You got to give him a break, is my point. Maybe you can substitute some of that with the screen game. That's fine. I thought the screen game was going fine, and I don't think the fumble that came from Shady was because he was careless with it. He wasn't doing the thing where he's holding it out from his body or anything. He had it pretty tucked. Again, I think that was good punch out by the defender. But the screen game can help in place of the run. But again, the whole point is to not let Patrick get hit. And I'm not sure what lineman can block at this point. I know you guys saw the game plan, you, the faithful that are here tonight, and I do appreciate it very much. I know it's super late, and this is one of those weeks where there's no way around trying to do the pod and do the show and everything else. So thank you for being here. I just don't know if they don't see the same thing I do. I know no one on the staff is watching these videos that I'm doing, but I wish they would, because Justin Houston against Cam Irving was not pretty. It was downright ugly all night, and that last play where Cam mysteriously, and I'm sure that was part of the play call too, but you cannot forget to block Justin Houston. I don't care if you think he's over the hill. I don't care if you think he can't do it anymore. He does it enough, and he's proven to come up in big play after big play, game after game across his career. To let him just go unblocked was ridiculous, and I can't come back from that. It's going to stick with me all week is what it's going to do. So, Big Chief, see that you're here. Thanks, buddy. I think for the first time, Frank underplayed. I know people have been down on him for a while, and I know you guys are talking about Frank Clark now. I don't know what's going on with him. I don't know what the overall attitude is of the defense, because I saw guys taking plays off. I saw guys who didn't finish the pile. I saw guys who assumed somebody else had made a tackle and just kind of quit on the ball. This is really frustrating. This is one of those nights you're going to hear me be a little bit more emotional about this, because this stuff just drives me insane. As a former coach, it makes me crazy. Tackle the ball, get him into the ground, just do your job. Don't do somebody else's job. Darren Lee. Don't try to run around blocks. I think Neiman came in. I think he did an okay job. He's overpowered in the run game. Binder, Binder believer. Thanks for the donation. I didn't think a rant would deserve that, but I appreciate it. I thought Neiman came in and he did some good things in the past game. He's overpowered against the run. That's why he's not a starter. So I don't know that that's going to help. They clearly just cannot get off blocks. They can't defeat blocks. The linebackers are over pursuing or just ignoring their assignments. It's undisciplined football is the problem. Top to bottom, we can talk about technique and all that. We can get into the nitty gritty if we need to, but that's not really what it all boils down to. It all boils down to they're not going about it professionally. They are not living up to their jobs. And that's what it comes down to. So it's frustrating. From the broadcast, I don't know how many of you guys were there or not. If you were there, give a thumbs up or something in the chat. From the broadcast, I can't tell exactly what kind of impact Mo Claiborne had. I'm glad he was out there. I feel more comfortable without him. In fact, Chris Collinsworth, of all people, actually said something smart on the broadcast that a lot of people forego. And I'm glad that he said it because sometimes there's just a veteran experience that actually can pay dividends, even if they're not up to par physically, because they've seen this been here before kind of thing. You know what I mean? I think he was talking about Matthew, but I'm equating it to Mo Claiborne as well. That experience is kind of a force multiplier, even if you're not up to par physically. And maybe Mo isn't. Maybe he's not in shape. Maybe it's, he's certainly an aged veteran at this point. So that's going to take him. I think that's part of why people have passed on him before or released him in the past, because it just isn't optimum in terms of his athleticism anymore. So I think they kind of cast guys aside. But I think he can help. And I think we did see him help because I think he pushed Ward a little bit. I thought Ward looked better when he came back in. I said that on the podcast too, and I do believe that. I think Ward is better for being pushed. And I think it gives them a little bit of flexibility because, okay, Pascal had a couple of catches. T.Y. drew some penalties, and let's not even talk about the penalties. I can't fix the refs. It's not my fault. It's not your fault. It's not the player's fault. It's kind of ridiculous. Rashad Breeland committed a foul or two tonight, not all the ones that he was flagged for. But all those guys have to improve. If you're going to play man defense, you got to be more physical with it. I felt at stretches this defense got more physical and got more nasty, and that paid off for them, both in the first half and definitely when all the backup defensive linemen came in. I felt like they actually felt the urgency and put out more and worked harder and tried harder, and I think it actually paid off for them. So I was happy to see that as well. I saw somebody mention Ragland. You guys know I'm baffled by why Ragland doesn't play more because he's better against the run than half of the guys that play. But then you saw him come in and rush the passer like we saw in the last 2 preseason games. And I talked about it. He got 3 pressures and 7 pass rush snaps. So, I mean, clearly he's got a role to play, and they might need him this week because if Frank's hurt in any way and Okafor is still recovering from an injury, I mean, you might see Reggie start a defensive end this week, which then actually makes Spags kind of shift back to a 3-4 look, which he can run to. I mean, Spags is good in that he's multiple, and that's going to pay off because you got to make at this point, you got to make your defense fit whoever's healthy enough to play in your ball game next week. It's going to be a mess. The Texans went off today too, so that's just a whole nother thing that we'll have to talk about later in the week because I'm not ready to deal with looking ahead yet. Matthew was the player of the game, in my opinion, on defense. Not to say that he was perfect. He made a couple of big plays, and that made up for a couple of plays that he was off on. He's by far not perfect. But Frank's got to play better. Derek Nottie got picked on, but he's got to play better too. I think the broadcast kind of singled him out inappropriately, in my opinion. He's the only one all game that stood in there and took on the run. And for those of you who buy into the idea that the run game doesn't matter anymore, or particularly the run defense doesn't matter anymore, hang out with the folks in the chat. They'll explain it to you. This run game is still important in the modern NFL, if for nothing else than to maintain offensive momentum and not let players go cold like we saw tonight. Chiefs, there were stretches where they just couldn't get anything going. They literally could not make connections. I don't know what's going on with Travis Kelce, but him going after Eric Bieniemy is unacceptable. They're going to have to do something about that. I expect there to be at least some kind of fine, if not some disciplinary action coming from the team this week. That's not okay. But I think at the end of the day, everything that went on, we saw some good things from Pringle. We saw some good things from Mecole Hardman. Up and down from Demarcus Robinson again. The loss of Sammy, Tyreek not back. Like to see Yelder more involved. I thought those two big plays the week before kind of should have earned him a little more play. I saw him make one block, and that's the only time that he really stood out to me. I'll have to see what the snap counts come back at. I mean, could you make it any more predictable to put Sherman in and run straight ahead with a line that doesn't get a push to begin with? You're a zone team, for God's sake. You have skill players that you can run jet sweeps with that worked on your defense. Why not? I'm just sorry. I'm picking at straws here, folks. I'm frustrated. This is one of those games that should not have been a contest. This offense of the Indianapolis Colts is not up to par with the Chiefs offense when it's working. That's a letdown by the players, but also by the coaching staff. They did not come here and look like they were ready to play to me. So that's a problem too. Trying to make sure that I hit all the big points. The line, Kelce. I know everybody's upset, and I see you guys are upset. I totally get that. I'm frustrated, and I'm not supposed to be. An independent analyst like me should be pretty mellow about it. But I got to tell you, just watching bad football makes me angry, especially when I have to watch the whole thing. Tell me something that stood out that was positive to you. I thought Damian Wilson continues to be the guy that I didn't see coming. He's better than I thought he was by quite a long shot. That has been surprising to me. That said, he's not perfect. He missed a tackle, at least one that was pretty important. Matthew missed one. Breland did too. Aaron, I know, as you said, Pringle too. Yeah, I'm very encouraged by him. Although that last play, I'm sitting there in the living room screaming at the television. Both DeMarcus, Pringle on that last play where he chose to run laterally rather than just get the first down. North and South football, you're in a grudge match. It's a close game. Get your yardage. Go downfield. This has to be less pretty, less flashy. Narrow it down, get back to basics, and go forward. That's the problem. And I thought they lost some sight of that, and that hurt them in the end. I see a lot of Spags hate going on here too, and I got a ton of it on Twitter. I can understand you guys being frustrated, but this is – I don't feel like this is systemic. I don't feel it's scheme. I mean, yeah, they're not emphasizing the run defense. If it was only the run defense that made them lose tonight, then I would be more apt to agree with you guys. Or you guys that are actually frustrated with Spags. But it's player breakdowns. It's missed assignments. That's what I see when I watch it live. And honestly, the more I look at the all 22 each week, the more I see it even then. So it only gets worse when I look at it with the full view. And I don't know if you guys saw today, I put out one clip of Chris Jones as a bonus clip because everybody's been asking me to do the defense in the film reviews, but there's just not that much positive stuff for me to do. And I'm trying not to be putting all these negative things out there. I'm trying to be real, but I'm not trying to focus on the negatives. So that said, there are places that this can go. I don't know. Somebody just said something about Saunders. That's a good point. I thought he came in and he looked better against the run in this game than he did in the last preseason game, in my opinion. I did not think he was ready to try and hold the point of attack, but he did okay. He might have to play this week. He might have to play a lot this week. That's why they kept him. I would not be surprised to see them trying to go find Joey Ivy if he's still out there too. I don't know if he got picked up. I honestly lost track of whether he had been signed by another team or not. So look for that to be possible pickup. I don't know. I do expect Jeff Allen to come back this week. If they're smart, they'll grab him in an instant. He's probably already on his way back to Kansas City, in my opinion. I just feel overall, maybe this team started reading the press. Maybe they started feeling like, hey, we really are the best team in the league. And they showed up to this game not blowing it off, but expecting to win, not prepared for a fight. And this Indianapolis team was certainly there for a fight. Quentin Nelson and everybody else. But I don't know. It just feels like they weren't ready. And I don't know if that's the staff or the players or a combination of both, but I'm very interested to see what the reaction is. I want to hear regret. I want to hear pissed off players in the locker room today, tomorrow, Wednesday for sure. They got to hit by Wednesday. You have to have had recovered your embarrassment and focus on getting prepared for the next week because you have a lot of work to do. Anybody who is healthy has more work to do this week than they did last week because they're healthy. So that's trouble. That said, when Pat was able to scan downfield, looked like he had options. There were a couple of times when there were miscommunications again, though. So that's got to get worked out with the wide receivers. I would hope at this point that wasn't going to go on. But if they can get that back so that they're making easier reads. And I remember I told you guys in one of the film views, first 3 weeks, they had busted plays they took advantage of. They had busted coverages all over the place. And that led to some big plays. Didn't see any of those tonight. Didn't see any of those last week. At least not that really, really stood out to me. So I'm trying to see what you guys got. Go watch San Jose State and Arkansas. Okay. I'm sorry, I didn't pay any attention this week to the college game. Yeah, I'm just at a loss. I don't, and I think it's regretful too, for this team to kind of fall asleep on itself, because they are very, very good. But you still got to play the games. You still got to show up and do your job. And quite frankly, you got to do it with some edge, some juice, like Therese likes to say. You can't just show up and say, I'm wearing red, you lose. That's not the way that works. Everybody in this league is a hair's breadth away from taking a game from you, like the Colts came in and took a game. That's the way it works. I think they will recover. I think they will be better for it. I certainly hope that they will. Right now, I don't expect Sammy to play next week. I'm glad that he tried. Personally, I would have been fine if he didn't play and they hadn't tried to get him out there. I'm worried that he pulled it again. Hamstrings are tough. He's had them in the past. I thought he was over it because he's looked so good. And here's the thing. You got to find a time. You got to work it out somewhere where you have Sammy and Tyreek Hill and Mecole Hardman on the field at the same time. Right now, that doesn't look like it's going to happen anytime soon. That's going to be the problem. I have a feeling they might, with the Sammy injury, get Tyreek back this week. I didn't think so until tonight, but I think he's kind of borderline, and maybe they're trying to wait another week, make sure he's healthy. At this point, they might feel like they have to. You didn't see anything spark out of the backfield. And yes, it's the line. The line's not doing a good job. They're not opening holes, and they're not pass blocking, so pick your poison. But you also didn't see anything really inspiring from the running backs. I didn't think Damian Wilson had earned the right just to walk back in. I don't know if Darryl got any touches tonight at all. I don't know if he got any snaps at all. And I would not mind seeing, even if for a short time, like you saw the Ravens do against the Chiefs. Their offense wasn't working, wasn't clicking. They come out that second half, They run for a series and get themselves back on track. And that has a tendency to happen when you have a couple of successful plays, even if it's only 2 or 3 yards at a time. So I would have liked to seen them use Darrell a little bit. I feel like he's, again, a guy that got sent back to the bench for no reason after having earned and shown his worth. So that's frustrating too. Aaron, he did play a little bit. Okay, I'm glad you said that because I wasn't sure. I don't think he got a touch. So, long and short, I'm going to stop complaining about everything. They lost the game. It wasn't pretty. It was pretty terrible. But it's just a game. So just like the players, I hope you guys can set it aside. We'll talk tomorrow night and go through questions and everything, and then we all got to move on because it's onward and upward. This team has too much talent to let it get sidetracked by poor play and let that carry over. I certainly hope that they can bounce back and really make a show of it next week and show Houston this is still their AFC because Houston's only a game behind. Houston's got some points to make as well. So I will start looking at that here later in the week. I'll do the film room. I don't know how pretty it's going to be, folks, but I will do the film room. I'll try to find some rays of sunshine somewhere, and I'll highlight a couple of things. I may do a couple just to break it up a little bit because it gets long trying to put it all in one video. So I'll give that a shot. I appreciate you guys hanging out. 300 got to 380 tonight, so that's great. Not going to belabor these points too much. I went in to some more detail, and Chris had some good points too. The podcast, I'm going to edit that here in a couple of minutes. We'll have that up for you tonight, definitely for the drive tomorrow. So enjoy that. Let us know what you think. We'll be back here tomorrow night with the Q&A, and we'll go through whatever information we get to and get into more questions. Thanks for jumping on tonight. Thanks for those of you that donated tonight. I really appreciate it. It's going to be all right. It's not that bad. Thanks for hanging in with my internet, and the picture that you see now, it isn't the best. I'll have more videos uploaded for you this week. Thanks again. You guys have a good night, and I'll talk to you next time.